Welcome to another RetroJunkie.net video. Today we're going to go ahead and create a SNES flash cart. We'll be using Earthbound as our ROM of choice. You may choose something else. Just make sure you adhere to the red warning up the top and don't use this for profit. That's wrong.
Alright, so we've so far desoldered the game chips, the ROMs off the boards. We've got our two games here. We've got NHL 96 and World Cup Striker. That's very hard to read. Terrible mix of colours, probably why it was such a good game. So with those desoldered, I'm now going to put some sockets in. For that we had two types we could use. These are 40 pin. I've only got 36 from memory on these, so I have had to snap them down. The other option was to use these ones, which have, see if we can give a look at that. Little round holes, but I found that if your pins are bent at all on your chips that you're socketing in, you're going to have troubles. So I'm more inclined to use this type. So we'll give that a go. Next step here is pretty much just to get those in, and then I'm going to burn a test EEPROM and just make sure it works. It's be an 8 megabit game, more or less, which is just one chip. And then if that works, we'll be stepping up to this one, which will have the flash chip on there. And then we'll write the game to that chip using this adapter, which isn't made yet either. And there's a capacitor that's just sitting there. So let's keep moving. Let's get them soldered.
Hasn't this just been so professional looking so far? Let's see if I can keep it up. Editing video is a pain in the...
Well, the sockets are in well, and I've given it a test with this particular one was World Cup Striker, and that's the original World Cup Striker chip, which would ordinarily sit in like that. Note the 4 extra pins on the end there. But instead of using that, I went ahead and grabbed NHL 96, popped it in upside down, and it worked. So that's a good sign. So now I've gone ahead and starting work on these things. Hindsight, I probably should have soldered the flash chip on there first, using a bit of drag soldering, which I'll be doing in a future video. Should be interesting. I found that with these chips in, we're going to be very close to actually physically fitting inside the socket of the cartridge slot. If it's any bigger, it's going to scrape the sides and not fit in. So what I'll be doing is, I'll be popping a slight hole in here, giving it a bit of room. And at the moment, on this, I'm just trimming back the legs because they're too long. Probably still make them a bit shorter than that anyway. The main reason for doing this is so that I can easily take it out, reprogram it, put whatever I want on, and then put it back in. Ultimately, it's just going to have Earthbound though. Although if I do choose to, I could also socket the SRAM. Make it a bit bigger. I do need to also socket that battery. Still looking for the correct size battery holder though. So, let's get this one done and go see if it physically fits.
The good news is it was perfectly well adjusted. Nothing wrong with him, no crazy suicidal thoughts. So while it does fit for the moment, it's not going to fit very well once we put that cartridge case on. I'm sure I touch on that later on in the video. Next up, we'll be creating the TSOP to Willam adapter, which will allow us to read Nintendo mask ROMs and also to burn to the TSOP40 chip, which I haven't created yet, but we're onto it. Keep watching.
Okay, so the next step is to get the socket soldered onto this to keep it nice and solid so that it's aligned. Just put one of your mask ROMs in there, and then tack down 2 corners. Make sure you apply pressure so it goes in well, and solder away. For the legs of the adapter, cut them like this so that you'll be able to wire some Kynar wire off them. 3 points for Kynar wire. You'll want to attach the legs first, because otherwise you're going to have difficulty soldering these points along the top without melting this socket. So I'm going to go ahead and desolder that right now and come back. Well, we'll come along with the adapter to convert from the GQ4X to this. Haven't put the chip on yet, but I thought I'd do this. So this is actually, this was designed by retrohacker.info, and they were kind enough to put up the Gerber files for CAD software. I think it was PCB files anyway. You send them off to a PCB manufacturing place. I chose, I can't remember their name, but the board is purple, so that should give it away. Their site was Osh Park. There we go, Osh Park in the States, I think it is. So I went ahead and got that. Ordered 3 or 4 boards, 5 boards as a minimum order, so you get the boards, 3 boards, and you get them, and then you start soldering. And I followed here what Monkey was doing, or Monkey on Retro Hackers forums, and we'll get there. So I've even used the same color scheme, so I happen to have enough Kynar wire to last me a lifetime now. So that's the layout, and I've got to put the socket on top, and then the adapter will be complete. And once that's complete, I've just got to solder that on, that chip on, which I have misplaced. Where on earth did I put that? Oh, there it is. I'll be more careful. Alright, the adapter is built. All those pins are now soldered, and we can give it a go. Now, some of you might jump on, try and flash this immediately. A good way to test that your adapter is 100% is to get a mask ROM. So you should be able to read mask ROM. So I've got 2 here. I've got NHL 96 and World Cup Striker. World Cup Striker is the shorter one. So I can give them both a test now and just see if they dump successfully and if they can run in an emulator. If that's the case, then we are definitely onto soldering that chip onto here, the TSOP40. Let's see what happens. Alright, so we've got the adapter, the chip, in the correct orientation this time. I had it the wrong way around. So the shorter chips go toward the bottom, just the same as the actual programmer would normally have it. And we've dumped it, and there's the code there. I'm actually sort of surprised there's not something in the header mentioning Nintendo, SNES or anything like that, or the name of the game, like the Mega Drive ROMs tend to be. But I've taken that code, which I saved as test1.bin, and I've dumped it over here into this program, which I used to also burn the 27C801, and it has successfully identified it as World Cup Striker, 8 megabit high ROM PAL. Looks good. So the adapter works, and now we just need to get to soldering that TSOP40. So we've got SNES open, we can go load. We load our test1.bin. It's identified it also as World Cup Striker. Means we're all good.
Fantastic. Now we know that that purple board works, so we can go TSOP to Willem, no problems. Our next big step is to solder on this flash chip. Now look at the pin pitch on that. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I mean, look at that. There it is in comparison to an 8-pin PIC of some sort. PIC chip, and yeah, it's very small. So wish me luck with that. Let's the next step, and we're going to have to do it. I'm going to go ahead though and speed up the video because it is significantly difficult. A lot of fiddling, and I didn't get it the first time. I'm man enough to admit that. Let's have a watch. Naughty! So rather than bore you all to tears with my rendition of Noddy, here's what we need. Flux pen. Flux pen or flux paste, your choice really. The chip and the adapter itself. Hopefully by this point you haven't actually soldered the legs on yet like I have, because it's a bit difficult to work around anyway. Make sure you add lots of flux now and a bit later on. As you can see, blue tack is probably a good idea to have on hand as well. Can hold down the chip, save you a bit of hassle trying to get it aligned, which I had much difficulty with. Drag soldering itself is actually quite interesting to watch, as you'll see here. And the noises it makes, you can't really describe it, but the sound of the flux evaporating, it's a beautiful noise. Bit of desolder braid comes in handy to lift all the excess solder, and by the end of it you should have something like this. Also, don't forget to bridge the 3 solder pads on the board. Use a bit of wire. I didn't, it ended up terrible, but I had to use wire on one of them, so. What do? Here's the end result. As you can see, my chips are a little bit crooked, just a little bit off where the solder pads. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I did use blue tack, you saw that right? I used blue tack, yeah.
And here we are with the AM29F032. We're in the final stages. The chip has been recognised successfully and we are now writing Earthbound. So fingers crossed this will work. If not, back to the drawing board. Here's the chip on the adapter. On the other adapter sandwich. And that'll take a little while to write. Well, we've got the Earthbound cart in there, and that's what we get. This game pack is not designed for your Super Famicom or Super NES. It's never going to work. Because the game is NTSC American. So I need to either adapt the ROM or install a Super CIC. But that means it works. Alright, we're walking with baby steps here, but here is the Earthbound cartridge. I've converted the image, the ROM, to PAL from NTSC, which of course is going to give you some in-game oddness. Well, I'll show you what I mean. So get this, it's looking pretty good. Some dodgy wires hanging off it, but it's somewhat functional. Oh, it'd be a lot easier if this was in a cartridge. There we go. Faces toward the back. As you can see, the picture doesn't take up the whole screen because it is PAL. And that's where we're locked out. Now I had a look on the net, and this error seems to relate to incorrect SRAM sizes. But in this case, because I have changed the actual ROM to a PAL ROM, I'm going to say that's more the problem than anything. What I will be doing is I'll be installing a Super CIC mod into this SNES, and we should be able to progress past that once I've popped the NTSC version of the ROM back on the TSOP. So stay tuned, we'll have some more on this one in the future, but we've definitely made progress. The fact that I can flash the ROM, identify the ROM, it's a good solder. Here's the mod cart working in a newly coloured SNES. It was suffering from extreme yellow discolouring, so we've flashed the cart with a rare game. So that's pretty fun. And this is still half completed. At the end of it we'll actually have two SNES consoles with nice coloured casings. So there's the flash chip. Got a nice removable battery. Need to find a lower form factor one. I suspect what we're going to do is we're going to remove the socketing on this and just solder it directly onto the board with our favourite games. I'm going to pick Earthbound, and I've got a Super CIC mod these consoles. This is a one chip that we're running at the moment, and yeah, all shall be well. So at the moment it's I need to cut a hole in the back of the plastic case to fit it in. But overall that's been a pretty productive weekend. This just happened to be compatible. High ROM, fast ROM, it was 32 megabit as well. 64K of SRAM, kilobit. Met all the requirements, ticked all the boxes. So it was compatible with that card. Whereas low ROM isn't compatible due to the different wiring of the MAD chip. You can get some switches to put on top of the cart, which I would, but I'm not going to. I just want Earthbound. Well, this is a pretty catchy song. Thanks for watching. And here we are, we have decided to go against the socket and pop the original battery back on there so it will fit inside a case without chiseling away at the back too much. So we have, however, because this now sticks up a bit further than it used to and out a bit more, we can no longer fit it in there with that there, so we had to Dremel that away. But overall now it fits quite well. And it is the NTSC version, so it tells you that you can't play it on this console, this PAL console. So that'll have to wait for another day. Here is a second one, which wasn't as lucky, the chip actually got soldered on upside down, which is a minor oversight on my behalf. And removing the chip proved pretty difficult without a hot air gun. I did try it, and we actually had a corner of the chip rip off. So fine pitch, I think it's 0.5mm. Not so good at being desoldered with desolder braid. Solder and flux. Also, I ran out of flux. You learn. I'm actually surprised that the first one worked and the second one didn't. It's usually backwards to how everything works. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this adventure, and there will be more on these in the future, because I've still got a few more boards, order some more chips, and we'll go from there. RetroJunkie.net for more.
A do 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 do. Catchy, right?